Today, I want to shine a light on a hidden torment so many of us face. It's the loneliness and isolation stemming from complex trauma, or what is also known as childhood PTSD. This is not just a topic, it's a lived reality. It's a wound that cuts to the core of who we are and how we connect with others. If you grew up in a toxic family, it carries with it a silent foe that echoes into every corner of our lives. It hijacks every one of our thoughts, it bleeds into every one of our relationships, and it bestows fear in every aspect of our being, shaping how we live and love in ways we don't fully understand on a daily basis. Complex trauma is not just a fleeting pain or a bad memory. It's a legacy that keeps on giving, a legacy that permeates every corner of our life. And if it remains unacknowledged, it can separate us from our own capacity to trust, to connect, and to love without fear. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm truly grateful that you've chosen to watch this video. My name is Kerri McKenna Reece. I'm a trauma recovery coach, a supervisor, and accredited certified complex trauma instructor. And my mission is to guide others through the pain and complexity of trauma-affected relationships because I've walked this path myself. Together, we can explore the steps towards healing and connection. So let me share with you the heart of this matter in words that capture the depth of what childhood trauma does in a vulnerable spirit. Childhood trauma carries with it a curse. Trust or lack thereof, it stems from our earliest relationships. Imagine a child whose mom and dad make promises, but they never keep them. Maybe it's a birthday party that never happens, a game dad never attends, a bedtime story that remains untold, or a mother-daughter day that mom never shows up for. Was this your childhood? Can you relate to any of those scenarios? Each one of these broken promises, it chips away at the child's trust, leaving us a profound sense of abandonment and confusion. Now, picture a child reaching out for guidance, reassurance, or even a simple acknowledgement of their pain, only to be met with silence or indifference from a parent who is emotionally unavailable. A child that has no one they can count on, no one to help them understand their struggle. Can you relate? Was this your experience with your parents? This is isolating for a child. Right? Moments like that etch on your hearts and it leaves a lasting sense of unworthiness and abandonment. These experiences, they don't just leave a mark, they leave an open wound. The physical and emotional absence of parents who fail to provide reliability and care, it's deeply isolating for us as children. Yeah, as children, we were super resilient in ways that we realize today were both miraculous and heartbreaking, right? Our hearts were in the right place. Regardless of the situation, we always chose love and forgiveness, even at the cost of our own well-being. So think about that for a moment. As children, we disregarded our own feelings, emotions, and instincts just to preserve a fragile sense of hope in our parents. That is what is known as self-abandonment. We're forced to do this as children to survive. And self-abandonment alone is a devastation that creates lifelong heartache and relationship struggles, both personally and professionally, because it becomes the cornerstone of a life defined by loneliness and isolation. Now, there are consequences of broken trust. When trust is violated in childhood, it creates an internal narrative. People are not safe. This leads to a profound sense of loneliness that is not simply being alone, it's feeling isolated and alone, even in a crowded room. Having childhood trauma, we struggle in relationships as adults, doubting whether we can ever be loved, heard, or understood. On a professional level, it often manifests as self-sabotage or the inability to collaborate and share our thoughts and ideas openly in a team environment. It actually really goes much, much deeper than that, though, because when I speak of loneliness here, I am talking a profound disconnection from others, yes, but more tragically, it's a profound disconnection from our own self, our own spirit, our own soul. As children, when we sacrifice our authentic feelings to maintain a connection with vulnerable, with unreliable or harmful parents, it derails our intuition. We learn to not listen to not trust our gut, our inner voice. And that distrust follows us for a lifetime where we always second guess ourselves. We keep quiet and accept crumbs of love from others to survive. Self-abandonment, it truly has a devastating impact and it's crucial. I mean, as children, when no one is there to affirm or nurture us, we learn to shut down or invalidate our own feelings. And growing up, then that silence, it becomes a reflex. We avoid confrontation, we bury our emotions, and we become chameleons to fit in and hide our vulnerability. Our relationships either feel hollow or we're clingy, fearing abandonment and rejection around every single corner. And in relationships, most times we have one foot in the door and one foot out. We struggle as adults, both personally and professionally, because we have these unhealed childhood wounds and they fester. Not being nurtured as children and not fully understanding the cause and addressing the after effects of what we suffered. These these wounds have kept us tethered to our childhood pain in real time, as if that trauma is happening now. We're stuck in like this frozen state of emotional immaturity. We oftentimes feel like helpless children ourselves, unable to fully engage in the present because we're haunted by the past and we're bound by a fear of trusting ourselves and a fear of trusting others. Now, let's talk a little more about emotional immaturity and being frozen in time. This happens because we've never truly learned how to process or move through pain in a healthy way. And as a result, adult conflicts and challenges, they trigger these same childhood fears and insecurities. It's not that we want to react like a child. We simply haven't had the resources or support to do otherwise when emotions arise. So, childhood trauma survivors, we get stuck in our emotional brain because we were raised in an environment where we didn't feel safe and our nervous system developed in a hypervigilant mode. It kept us active in that side of our brain, and we weren't taught the skills to think through things logically. The heartbreak of unhealed childhood trauma is the isolation it causes. So, when you look around and feel there is no one to trust, your world it becomes very small, and loneliness is it's also about the stories we tell ourselves, right? If we believe we're undeserving of love or unworthy of being heard, we shrink, we hide. And in that hiding, our suffering deepens. So self-abandonment is the most traumatic of all traumas because it attacks the very foundation of what makes us human, our capacity to connect and feel safe and to trust and engage. So for those of us that have experienced this, the message we carry from childhood is, I'm not enough. I am unworthy of love. I am alone. And these beliefs don't just disappear. They shape how we view the world, how we interact with others, and even how we view ourselves. This speaks directly to the pain that so many of us carry inside. It's a curse, a wound that never fully heals without intentional work. As children, if we learn early on that we cannot depend on the very people meant to protect and guide us, we internalize a message of unworthiness. And to survive, we sacrifice our own needs, feelings, and sense of self. But here's the pivotal truth. While this wound may feel like a life sentence, it is not. Healing is very possible. Acknowledging the impact of this trauma is the first step towards reclaiming our lives and reconnecting with our inner voice and learning to trust again, learning to trust ourselves and others. The pain of self-abandonment, it may run deep, but with awareness, compassion, and intentional work, we can break the legacy of isolation. We can rewrite the message that we are enough. We are worthy of love. We are not alone. And here are a few steps to begin breaking the curse. So you want to acknowledge the pain. And often that's the hardest part, right? Simply allowing ourselves to feel what happened, to feel safe. We like to keep a distance from our pain, right? We do that to feel safe. We have to acknowledge that the childhood we had was not the childhood we deserved. Giving voice to that pain through coaching, journaling, or trusting friends, it can begin to loosen its grip. And you want to learn to trust yourself again, right? You want to relearning to self-trust means honoring your instincts, recognizing your boundaries, and nurturing your own needs. Every time you acknowledge an emotion and allow yourself to feel it, you're rebuilding that trust. And you want to see people for who they are and practice self-compassion. There is a child within you that is still longing for validation and love. Be your own parent, meet your needs, and provide yourself with the nurturing you didn't receive as a child. When you offer yourself gentle understanding, you become the caregiver you never had. This approach helps reduce the shame or guilt you may carry and allows you to step into your days as an adult feeling more grounded. And then you want to seek professional support where it's needed. No one should walk the path of healing alone. Trauma-informed coaches or support groups, they can be invaluable. They offer a safe space to process deep-seated wounds, learn coping strategies, and foster new patterns of relating to others. Look for a community and a connection, right? While the trauma might whisper you are all alone, the truth is there are caring individuals and communities out there ready to embrace and support you. Whether it's friendships, spiritual groups, therapy groups, or online communities, seek connection that feels authentic and nurturing to you. Childhood trauma is not a life sentence, it's a call for understanding, compassion, and growth. And though it may bind you in pain, it also shapes you into someone who possesses extraordinary depth and empathy. You're not you're not broken beyond repair. You're a wounded and you need care, and you are capable of immense resilience and transformation. So, my challenge to you is this. Take one step today, whether it's reading a book on trauma, scheduling a call with a friend or a coach, or simply writing in a journal about your experiences. Remember, you have the power today to protect, to soothe, and to nurture the child within you. Let us stand together and break the curse of childhood trauma and heal from loneliness and isolation because every one of us deserves connection, trust, and the freedom to flourish. No matter how deep the wound, healing is always possible and you don't have to do it alone. Thank you for listening and thank you for taking this step towards your own healing. By coming together in shared understanding, we can break the chains of the past and step boldly into the future of wholeness, self acceptance, and hope.